Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. There's continued fallout from the chaotic meeting between President Donald Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, and Ukrainian President Zelensky on Friday. We have some of the highlights and how Americans are responding. And in meetings yesterday, it appears the British Prime Minister is taking the reins and vowing to assist Ukraine in the continuing war with Russia. South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace is back in the headlines. This time, attorneys for one of the men Mace accused of being a sexual predator, a man that she was actually engaged to, has issued a demand for action, giving the Congresswoman 10 days to produce evidence or publicly apologize for what they call outrageous allegations or face a lawsuit.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, you know, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
What we witnessed on Friday afternoon in the Oval Office is nothing short of historic. President Donald J. Trump, once again, showing the world what real leadership looks like, standing firm in the face of Ukrainian President Zelensky's entitlement, and reminding him that America does not bankroll endless wars without a path to peace. Now, here's what you need to know. Zelensky, on Friday afternoon, waltzed into the White House expecting to cut another deal, expecting America to keep writing blank checks like we have done for years during Joe Biden's administration. He was expecting Trump to bow down to whatever demands Ukraine put forward. But guess what? As Gomer Pyle would have said, surprise, surprise, surprise. He got a reality check, didn't he? Things went off the rails for Zelensky when Vice President J.D. Vance called him out on disrespecting our country and President Trump.
What kind of diplomacy, J.D., you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring it into this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You
God
don't know
bless.
That.
You are not having a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no
answering
position
your
to dictate that.
That's exactly what you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the
bad
very
position,
beginning
and
of
he
the
happens
war.
to be right
From
about
the
it.
very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good
Mr.
position.
I was
You don't have the
saying,
cards right now. With us, you start having
I'm not playing
cards.
cards.
Right now, you don't
I'm very
have you're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives of
anymore.
millions of people.
You think
You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. That's back to you. Far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Wow. Do you think Zelensky is just that stupid? I mean, you heard during their tense meeting, both Vice President Vance and President Trump just flat out accused Zelensky of disrespecting the U.S. in the Oval Office, and Zelensky tried to push back. He tried to argue with these two. And folks, let's just be honest here. Trump and Vance are right. For years, Ukraine has taken billions of dollars of our tax dollars, yet they continue to treat the U.S. like a cash machine instead of a sovereign nation that deserves respect. And when Zelensky tried to push his usual rhetoric about needing more support, Trump and Vance just shut it down. Trump wrote on True Social afterwards, he said, "I don't want advantage, I want peace." And let me tell you, that says everything you need to know about the president's priorities. Unlike warmongers in D.C., unlike the military-industrial complex that loves these endless conflicts, Trump is actually working for an end to the war. He's not playing political games. He's not looking for more reasons to funnel money into Ukraine. He wants peace, real peace, and he wants it now, sooner than later. And what did Zelensky do? He fumbled the opportunity. Instead of engaging in honest peace talks, instead of acknowledging the massive help that he's already received from the U.S., he doubled down. He started lecturing Trump. You don't lecture Donald Trump. You don't lecture J.D. Vance. You don't lecture the American people. Zelensky started telling Americans what we would feel in the future if they didn't keep funding Ukraine's war. And Trump wasn't going to have it. Folks, that right there is the difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden and every other politician in Washington. He's not playing games. He's not going to gamble with our tax dollars. He's here to end the war and bring about a resolution and get the best deal for the American people that we can possibly get. But Zelensky wasn't finished. He wasn't finished committing political suicide. Again, is the guy just this stupid? Did he think he was going to be the big guy on the block? That he would stare Trump down in front of the American media, in front of the American people? And kudos to Vice President J.D. Vance. He also hung in there with him and called him out again on being appreciative for what he's already received, asking Zelensky if he had ever said thank you.
Have you said thank you once?
A lot of times.
No, in this
Even
entire
today.
meeting you said thank
Even
you.
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war,
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country's in big trouble.
Can I answer?
No, you've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning.
I know.
You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and not
haven't been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through
I
this
said
stupid president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment,
You
and you
voted
met
for
a
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about you?
If you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
You invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this.
Again,
I tell you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of times to American people.
Accept that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I understand, sir.
I think it's very
I understand.
important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the cards.
Thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying.
can tell you
You're
again,
running
I
low
know.
on soldiers.
Don't
Listen,
please,
you're running
Mr.
low
President.
on soldiers. It would be a damn good thing.
Mr.
And
President.
then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go, and I want this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you'd take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a
with
ceasefire.
guarantees.
Because you get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That
It
wasn't
doesn't
with
matter
me.
for you what
That
what
wasn't
is-
with me.
It
That was
wasn't
with
you.
a guy named Biden who was not a smart person.
This
That
is
was
your,
with,
this
that was
is
with
your
Obama.
president. It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful. Because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
But Zelensky just doesn't seem to let that sink in. This wasn't just about negotiations. There was also supposed to be a mineral rights deal on the table, a deal that would have given the U.S. access to Ukraine's rare earth minerals in exchange for all the support we've already given and potential future support. But guess what? That deal's dead now. Trump made it crystal clear. If Zelensky isn't ready to talk about peace, if he thinks that he can keep milking the United States, then there's going to be no deal. No minerals, no handouts, no endless aid with no accountability. And Trump pretty much just showed him the door. He just sent him packing. I mean, what does Zelensky think we have here? He got real defensive and acted like it was his right to receive endless U.S. support as if we owed him something. Well, I don't think we owe him anything, do you? In fact, he owes us. He owes us some type of promise to somehow to pay us back what we've already given him. But no, he thinks that's a grant, a non-repayable grant. Well, I guess he learned on Friday, did he not? There's a lot of talk about making America great again, and it begins with making America healthy again. Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team at PhD Weight Loss are at the forefront to educate and guide you to be your best self. The millions being spent in propping up Big Pharma are astounding, only to create long-term dependency and harmful side effects. Let's take a natural approach that isn't connected to a pharmaceutical company's bottom line. The coaches at PhD Weight Loss will show you how. The entire program is centered around science and nutrition, a proven roadmap that has helped over 8,000 clients lose over 331,000 pounds. You'll learn what to eat and when, how to quiet cravings, and finally get rid of that belly fat. Plus, you'll never take a medication. How many pounds would you like to lose in 2025? Do it the natural way with PhD Weight Loss, here to lead the charge to make America healthy again. Call PhD Weight Loss and schedule your consultation. 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. So before we move on from the situation with Ukrainian President Zelensky on Friday, where does this go next? Zelensky left Washington empty-handed, did not leave with what he thought he was going to get. No new deals, no new checks, and most importantly, no more free passes. Trump made it clear Ukraine needs to start acting like a serious player in the peace process, or they can forget about U.S. support. Folks, this is exactly why the establishment fears Donald Trump. Because unlike Joe Biden, who just blindly rubber-stamped every aid package Congress threw his way and every aid package that Zelensky asked for, Trump actually demands accountability. And that's a huge problem for the war hawks, the defense contractors, and the globalists who want to keep this conflict going for as long as possible. And let's not forget, this comes just days after Trump met with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who actually seems willing to help end this war. Trump's made it clear that peace talks are in the final stages, but Zelensky has to get serious, and if he doesn't, well, as Trump said it himself, your country's in big trouble. Folks, this is, again, what diplomacy, real diplomacy looks like. Diplomacy that keeps America first. This is what putting America first looks like. Now, one more thing on Zelensky and this whole fiasco. Not only did he lose the support of Trump and Vance on Friday, but he lost the support of one of his staunchest supporters in the U.S. Senate. South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham told reporters outside of the Oval Office after this fiasco that he coached Zelensky prior to his meeting with Trump to not take the bait.
What I think? Complete, utter disaster. I've been to Ukraine 8 or 9 times since the war started. I understand the consequences of Putin's actions against Ukraine. I appreciate what the Ukrainian people have done. They fought like tigers. At the end of the day, I was hoping that this minerals deal, which would be transformative in the relationship, would go over well. I talked to Zelensky this morning. Don't take the bait. President Trump was in a very good mood last night. Somebody asked me, am I embarrassed about Trump? I have never been more proud of the president. I was very proud of J.D. Vance, standing up for our country. We want to be helpful. What I saw in the Oval Office was disrespectful, and I don't know if we can ever do business with Zelensky again. I think most Americans saw a guy that they would not want to go in business with. The way he handled the meeting, the way he confronted the president was just over the top. So I think the relationship between Ukraine and America is important, vitally important. But can Zelensky do a deal with the United States? After what I saw, I don't know.
Look, when you lose the support of Lindsey Graham on something like this, I mean, because Graham has been a supporter of the Ukrainian people and of the Ukrainian president. Graham met with Zelensky before the Oval Office session. Now he says he hopes that Zelensky will just say, I screwed up big time for my country and for the U.S. relationship, and if I had to do it over again, I would have done it differently, and I'm sorry. So far, Zelensky hasn't done that. Apparently, this is not going to happen. Apparently, Zelensky doesn't feel like he's done anything wrong. He had a Fox News interview with Bret Baier following this. It was already prearranged. Of course, they canceled the White House press conference that was supposed to have been after the meeting. Bret Baier asked if their ties could be salvaged. Zelensky says his relationship with President Trump wasn't irreparably damaged on Friday, despite the chaos that this meeting broke out into. And additionally, according to the Washington Post, Zelensky believes things can be repaired, telling the Post, yes, of course, because it's relations about more than two presidents. We wanted very much to have only strong relations, and I'm very calm that we will have it. Zelensky also said that the public spat was not good for both sides, saying that I was very open, but I can't change our Ukrainian attitude towards Russia. At another point, he reiterated, I think it was not good. I just want to be honest, and I just want our partners to understand the situation correctly. Well, no, it wasn't good. It wasn't good for you. Didn't matter to America, because we can just move on and not send you any more money. We don't have to have the mineral rights. Would we have liked to have had them in exchange for what we've already given you? Yes. And it could have been a great partnership going forward. And it could have gone a long way in making sure that there's peace in that region. Because once Americans are in Ukraine, mining those mineral rights, Russia is going to leave them alone. Russia is not going to start a World War III by attacking U.S. troops or U.S. companies. They understand that. But it appears Zelensky, he doesn't care about that. And the odd thing, too, is this. The president had just met last week with the British Prime Minister as well. And it appears Zelensky still has the support of his fellow European leaders, or at least some of the political media consultants who are feeding them talking points. Because listen to this. A handful of European leaders are coming under the microscope and under criticism because they all posted the exact same message on social media following this disaster. Here's what was posted. Your dignity honors the bravery of the Ukrainian people. Be strong, be brave, be fearless. You're never alone, dearest President Zelensky. We will continue working with you for a just and lasting peace. Now, it'd been one thing if this came from a particular European Union leader. But who posted this? The President of the European Parliament, Roberta Metsola. But also President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. Also, European Commissioner for Trade, Valdis Dombrovskis. European Parliament member Manfred Weber and European Council President Antonio Costa, they all posted the exact same social media message on Friday if you look back across X and you see that. Now, what's that all about? How did all of these European leaders suddenly post the same message? Because somebody fed it to them. So somebody is coordinating this. So apparently after Trump asked Zelensky to leave on Friday, he headed to Europe. He met with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer on Saturday, Well, the pair was spotted on camera embracing upon Zelensky's arrival. A group of European leaders met in London yesterday after Starmer told local media that he had spoken with Trump and French President Macron regarding the UK and France taking the reins on crafting a plan for peace. Well, look, let them take over. Let them spend their share. Let them put up a couple or a billion or 300 billion. Let them take it from here. I'm good with that. Are you? Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. What a beautiful weekend we had, huh? You know, I had my first daffodil bloom in the yard over the weekend, and there's a bunch of them about to start blooming. I noticed, too, I had a chance to play a few holes of golf over the weekend. The weather was just beautiful, and making our way around the golf course, there were so many trees that are just about ready to start popping with blooms. And it's just a sign of that new spring life, isn't it? It's just one of my favorite times of the year. Appreciate some of your messages on Facebook and other social media platforms. If you're on X, if you're on Facebook, if you're on Instagram, YouTube, check me out. Be sure and like, follow, send me a message. Bruce sent me a message, say, hey, listen to you on my early drives. You did request that listeners friend you. Well, yes, Bruce, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you friending me. Just search for Joey Hudson on Facebook. Also, had a message from Greg. He said, hey, Joey, I listened to you over on 94.5 over the years. He said, I've been also listening to you on your new radio station. I appreciate that. Hope you are listening on my podcast as well. But, yeah, check me out on Facebook, on X, on Instagram, and check out my YouTube channel as well. A criminal investigation continues following the bizarre deaths of actor Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, who were found deceased in their Santa Fe home under suspicious circumstances. Authorities confirmed that the 95-year-old Oscar-winning actor and his 65-year-old classical pianist wife had no signs of external trauma, and preliminary autopsies have ruled out carbon monoxide poisoning, which was my first thought when I learned that the two of them had been found deceased along with one of their dogs. Forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Baden told Fox News that the deaths might have been accidental, noting that Hackman's pacemaker recorded an event on February the 17th indicating cardiac arrest. Investigators suspect that Hackman may have collapsed in the mudroom of their home, leading his wife to attempt to assist him before she too succumbed to an unknown cause. Now, the theory is that she rushed to the bathroom where she was found because there was prescription meds scattered all around the room, we're told, and that she was rushing to get his meds when she fell and potentially ended her life by hitting her head in the process. Now, the thing that I didn't quite understand, though, was the dog. And that it just breaks my heart. You know, Peg and I love Jesse and Simon, and just thinking about a sweet dog losing its life. And I wish I didn't know this, but evidently the dog was in its crate and was not able to get out. And so the dog just succumbed to dehydration because they suspect that Hackman had been dead for 7, 8, 9 days. Before he was found. So sad day. I mean, I wasn't a big Gene Hackman fan. I mean, he was kind of out there. He was kind of radical. But still, I don't want anyone to die like that, and I particularly don't want a sweet dog to die like that. Back to this whole Zelensky affair. One final thing. As it wasn't over for Vice President J.D. Vance on Friday, it carried over into the weekend. And this is the perfect example of how the radical left operates. So here's the story. Vice President J.D. Vance, one of the few men in Washington with a backbone, it appears. And boy, he stood up to Zelensky last week, didn't he? He dared to demand a little gratitude for the billions that we've sent to Ukraine. And what happens? Well, his family evidently was headed to vacation, a skiing vacation in Vermont over the weekend. So I guess he left Washington on Friday to head to Vermont with his family. And what happens? They had to flee from the vacation because of an unhinged mob of leftist agitators. So here's the story. J.D. Vance, his young children were simply trying to enjoy a little time at Sugarbush Resort in Vermont. But as soon as the radical Soros-funded Ukraine flag-waving professional protesters caught wind of it, they descended on the resort like a bunch of vultures. Hundreds of them, hundreds of people showed up at Sugarbush Resort when they learned that J.D. Vance was there. Now, let me back up because that's not exactly right. They showed up there knowing J.D. Vance was going to be there. So somebody tipped them off, I guess, ahead of time. You don't pull together hundreds of people to protest that quickly. So they descended on this resort, showing up with their little pre-made signs calling him a traitor, calling him Nazi scum, even telling him to go ski in Russia. You could see signs in this crowd. I watched some of the video of them saying, go ski in Russia, as if he is a Russian sympathizer. Now, this is just simply insanity. This is why people hate the left the way they do. We're talking about the Vice President of the United States, and these people are treating him like some kind of war criminal. Why? Because he had the audacity to say that America's generosity should be acknowledged. He had the backbone to tell Ukrainian President Zelensky to say thank you and to respect our president, to respect his boss, Donald Trump. And you know what? You know what's really disgusting about this whole thing? These weren't just deranged Ukraine activists. This was the entire Rainbow Coalition of professional outrage artists. You had your pro-Ukraine mob, if you looked at the images. You had your climate change fanatics. You had your open borders lunatics. You had your transgender activists. Now, actually, maybe they're all wrapped up into one. Maybe a transgender activist is also a border lunatic who's also a climate change fanatic who's also part of the pro-Ukraine mob. Regardless, they all showed up. Why? Because they hate anyone who puts America first. It's not about Ukraine. It's about control. These people demand absolute obedience to their globalist agenda. And the moment someone like Vance steps out of line, they try to intimidate him and his family, these young children, on their weekend ski vacation. It's just disgusting. So let's talk about what actually happened last week again. I mean, Zelensky came to Washington expecting these another blank check. And Trump and Vance says, hey, the war's got to end. America will not be Ukraine's piggy bank forever. And these people are upset with J.D. Vance because Zelensky didn't like hearing the message. He expected the same weak, feckless leadership that he got from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Can you imagine that same meeting taking place in the Oval Office with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris? Can you imagine what it would have looked like rather than Donald Trump and J.D. Vance? What Zelensky got was leaders who actually put America first. And the moment that Zelensky tried to argue that the U.S. wasn't doing enough, and yes, he actually had the nerve to say that, the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, asked a simple question. Have you even said thank you once? Zelensky had no answer because he doesn't respect America. He just wants our money. He expects our support. He expects our money. And when he doesn't get it, well, suddenly we're all the bad guys. And then you got all these so-called Americans who are taking that on J.D. Vance. They're showing up to try to disrupt this young family's vacation. their weekend ski trip. I mean, how sick is that? And where's the mainstream media on this? Oh, that's right. They're cheering it on, aren't they? They think it's funny. They think it's karma. This is why Trump is right when he calls out the press and when he calls them out as being the enemy of the people, because they love this kind of intimidation when it happens to conservatives. If it were Kamala Harris, if it were Pete Buttigieg, if it were any Democrats, they would be calling it domestic terrorism. But nope, because it's J.D. Vance, it's okay. It's all right. Because it's J.D. Vance, and they think that he's Donald Trump's puppet. Well, let me tell you, it's not going to stop J.D. Vance. It's not going to stop Donald Trump. And it's not going to stop the American people from standing up against these corrupt globalists who want to keep us locked in a forever war. So, to all of the protesters out there, you failed. Vance isn't backing down. Trump's not backing down. The American people's not backing down. You can scream, you can shout, you can hold up your little signs, but guess what? The America First agenda is unstoppable. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Email's always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. Boy, it was a crazy weekend with multiple wildfires, actually wildfires throughout the Southeast, particularly, though, in North Carolina, South Carolina. Multiple fires erupted, prompting widespread evacuations. A state of emergency declared in South Carolina by Governor Henry McMaster. The fires, fueled by very dry conditions, gusty winds, it was very windy, of course, on Saturday, have collectively burned thousands of acres, with firefighters working tirelessly to contain the blazes. And thank you, if you were out over the weekend battling these blazes, your first responder, thank you for what you did. In South Carolina, McMaster declared a state of emergency yesterday, on Sunday, to bolster the wildfire response efforts. A statewide burning ban is currently in effect to prevent additional fires. The most significant blaze is in the Carolina Forest area, located just west of Myrtle Beach. The fire is rapidly expanded, burning about 1.9 square miles with 0% containment as of late Sunday afternoon. Residents in several neighborhoods have been ordered to evacuate. Over 400 personnel are engaged in combating the Carolina forest fire. North Carolina also contending with multiple wildfires over the weekend. The U.S. Forest Service reports that crews are working to contain fires that have burned over 400 acres across 4 national forests. The largest of these is in the Uwharrie National Forest, approximately 50 miles east of Charlotte, encompassing about 300 acres, according to officials. In Polk County, a rapidly spreading brush fire between the communities of Tryon and Saluda led officials to establish an emergency shelter and urged some residents to evacuate their homes. This fire, ignited by a downed power line, consumed between 400 or 500 acres, and that one, too, remained uncontained as of late last night. Firefighters from multiple counties, along with the North Carolina Forest Service, are actively working to control that blaze. The National Weather Service has issued warnings about increased fire dangers throughout the Southeast, attributing it to critically dry fuels, low relatively humidity, and, of course, the gusty winds that we saw over the weekend. These conditions have exacerbated the spread of existing fires and, of course, heighten the risk of new fires. Residents in affected areas are advised to stay informed by keeping a tab on the news in your area, because these things move rapidly and you may have to evacuate your areas. Firefighters across both North Carolina, South Carolina continue the battles with the wildfires. Just, again, very challenging conditions because of the high winds. As the situation evolves, residents are encouraged to be ready to evacuate, again, if you're in one of these areas. Peg and I could see the fire that took place in the 6 Mile area. We could look across Lake Kiowee and see an orange sky on Saturday night. It was quite eerie. So just be safe. And again, a special thank you to all of the first responders in the South who's been working on these wildfires throughout the weekend. Attorneys for one of the men accused by U.S. Representative Nancy Mace. Remember, what was it, about a week or so ago, when she stood in the U.S. House of Representatives chamber and accused men of being sexual predators? Well, one of those accused has issued a demand for action, giving the Congresswoman 10 days to produce evidence or publicly apologize for what they're calling an outrageous allegation. So here's the story. In a 4-page letter sent to Mace last Thursday, attorneys for Brian Musgrave of Fort Mill, South Carolina, outlined 3 possible scenarios: provide evidence that he was involved in the alleged crime, retract the allegations against him and publicly apologize, or get ready to go to court. Those are the options. The attorneys, Eric Bland and Ronald Richter, in a letter provided to news outlets, said, "You upended Brian's life when you accused him falsely of being a rapist, a predator, and a sex trafficker. He is none of those things," the attorney said. "He is a loving husband to his wife of 22 years and loving father to his children. The damage you've inflicted upon Brian and his family is immense," they wrote. Mace's spokeswoman declined to comment directly to the letter. Instead, she referred the news media to what Mace said from the House floor regarding Musgrave. Mace seemed to address the allegations herself in a post on X, saying, "Witness intimidation is real and it is illegal. Hold the line," she wrote. So she's not backing down, it doesn't appear. In a nearly hour-long bombshell speech on February the 10th from the U.S. House floor, Mace accused Musgrave, Patrick Bryant, who was her ex-fiancé, and 2 other men of sexually assaulting women and girls and secretly recording the abuse. She says that she was one of the victims. During her speech, headshots of the 4 men, along with where they live, were on a poster beside her that read, "Predators, stay away from." She said, "Let me be loud and clear. I would never allow any woman or underage girl anywhere near any of you." Again, speaking from the floor of the House. After naming the men, she said, "You have bought yourself a one-way ticket to hell. It is nonstop. There are no connections, so I and all of your victims can watch you rot for an eternity." All 4 of the men vehemently denied the allegations immediately following her speech. The letter from Musgrove marks the first threat of a lawsuit from an attorney. Speeches from the U.S. House floor are protected by the speech or debate clause of the U.S. Constitution, which shields members of Congress from lawsuits of what is said is in either chamber, and she knew that. Nancy Mace knew this. Musgrave's attorney questioned whether her speech, though, which they described as pushing a personal narrative, is actually covered by the clause, saying that they'll go to court to test it. The letter sent to Mace says, "You may view the floor of Congress as a sanctuary for slander. We do not." It noted that when Musgrave disputed the allegations to reporters, Mace blasted back February the 11th on social media. Her post included a line saying, "He must have missed a part of my speech," when she said that she had metadata. So the attorneys are saying, produce the metadata that links Musgrave to the alleged crimes, and we will cease our pursuit of this matter. After Mace's speech, the State Law Enforcement Division confirmed that Bryant is being investigated for assault, harassment, and voyeurism. The investigation began December of 2023 after SLED was contacted by U.S. Capitol Police. Mace and Bryant broke up in late 2023, which would be after Mace said she found evidence on his cell phone. Bryant has repeatedly denied the allegations and pledged to cooperate fully to clear his name. And again, Mr. Bryant is the one who was engaged to Mace. She announced the engagement to Bryant in May of 2022. The two then bought multiple homes together, according to the Post and Courier. The home in Washington, D.C. recently sold. The one on the Isle of Palms is for sale. That's it for today's show. Tara's up next, followed by Mike Gallagher, Bill Frady, Charlie James. We're back again tomorrow at 5 a.m. for your first cup of coffee in more Sunrise, Carolina. Until then, remember, folks, God's got this. He's still in control. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.